Okay, so welcome to attendees of this webinar who are joining now. So let's wait a few minutes so that everybody is in before starting. Okay, so I think we can start while other people are probably joining. So thank you very much for joining this webinar. It's the last online event of the EOSC Enhance project, and it's focused on giving highlights and more information on the innovative and enhancement that are being done to the EOSC Portal in the second year of the project. So we implemented the second software release of the EOSC Portal that has a lot of improvements in its different components. So my name is Carmela Aser. I'm the project manager of EOSC Enhance at FE Center. And so I'm going to start my presentation of what is going to be shown in this webinar. And so, okay. So the project, as you can see, and probably you heard already in many other online events that we held, has 4 main objectives that you see listed in this slide, and quite rich partnership of organization with complementary expertise who are also very active in the EOSC community of stakeholders. EOSC Enhance started on 1st December 2019. The EOSC Portal itself went live for the first time at the end of 2018 as a collaborative effort of 3 already existing projects: InfraCentral, EOSC Hub, and Open Air Advanced. And EOSC Enhance was the first project that was entirely conceived and focused to improve and develop further the EOSC Portal. We had our first release last year in this period, also accompanied by a webinar, an informative webinar. And here we go to the second release and to the end of the EOSC Enhance project. So this is a slide that highlights, I will not go in detail, so you can see it there, what we presented last year, exactly 1 year ago, for the first release. As you can see, there were a lot of improvements compared to the first version of the EOSC Portal in the various components. So in the catalog and marketplace, in the dashboard, in the area of providers, there was, say, a first, let's say, a release of the onboarding process that had a lot of improvement. That was based on a new profile, resource profile model. And also for user, and particularly the creation of a lot of tutorials to guide the user through the use of the portal. What's new with the second release? So here you can see just some highlights, but then my colleagues and partners of the project will explain you more in details what has been implemented in the last year and in the second release. We have improved a lot in user-generated content and the portal experience. With new features that were added to the content component, we have empowered more the users and providers to have their own content. We have aligned also different portal components, trying to have, let's say, a more uniform user experience also in the look and feel. And as well as in the single sign-on that is active across all the navigation in the portal. We have refined the user interface and the user experience for the marketplace. We have reorganized the layout. We have had the new pages for the providers. and other improvement in the dashboard for the provider. And new feature of this release is the recommendation system. This was one of the elements that came out from the requirement gathering campaign that we conducted in 2020, and then also in 2021, including interaction with users and providers on the first release. So we analyzed their feedback with various channels, and this led, of course, to prioritize elements for implementation in the second year. We have also the integration of the order management system that now is in the hands of provider. We have streamlined the onboarding process, so we try to say make the different steps of the onboarding process smoother, and also all the APIs have been upgraded now, so this make easier the onboarding of different providers. And another important feature that was implemented in the second release has been the onboarding of entire catalog, the entire existing catalog from providers and also thematic communities. So entire thematic platform and, for example, national catalogs can be now onboarded in bulk into the EOSC portal. Our work on the EOSC portal is ending within EOSC Enhance, but of course the portal is continuing to evolve, and this evolution will be taken in charge by EOSC Future project that has already started and will continue until 2023. EOSC Enhance performed a complete restructuring of the very first version of the EOSC portal, so set the foundation, of course, for all the work that now can be continued in a, let's say, easier way for EOSC Future, which is also focused on other area, but under one of these 6 pillars will take in charge the development of the EOSC portal, as well as the analysis of this long-term sustainability together with the EOSC governance task force and advisory groups. EOSC Enhance and EOSC Future have aligned their activities over the second half of 2021. We had several meetings so that this can be easy, smooth transition and over of the task. So I wish to thank you all for having followed up the progresses of EOSC Enhance in these 2 years. And now I leave the floor to my colleagues. It's been very nice to work with them over these 2 years. And I leave the floor to Jorge Sanchez, which is going to, I stop sharing.
Thank you, Carmela.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon to all, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Jorge Sanchez. I'm at JMP, and I have led the specifications, interoperability, and quality framework activities in EOSC Enhance for the last 2 years. As Carmela said, EOSC Enhance has been a project that tried to bring together all the EOSC activities that have run in the past in a single funnel, streamline all the processes, specifications, activities, and developments, and deliver a consistent result to the following projects, specifically to EOSC Future, but also other regional and thematic clusters that are currently being working on the same aim. For the activities that we were aimed to, it was very important to set up a number of specifications that it will allow full interoperability. And among the most important ones that we have managed to contribute and deliver are the EOS Portal profiles. For this year, we have just delivered the latest specification version 4.0. I will come to all the details on this. Furthermore, we have upgraded the onboarding process with a number of additional steps and a new channel that will manage to bring into the EOS portal the thousands or millions of additional data sources, research products, and additional services for the researchers that are currently on thematic portals, clusters, and regional catalogs. Related to this is a new process that we have deployed for the review and feedback to the onboarded providers, because this is becoming a huge operation and we need to automate or semi-automate this. Also, we managed to gather all the requirements that have been received for the EOS portal from the first moment that the concept was out there, register all those, and work on a very specific roadmap for each year that has been currently been updated to version 4.0, that is the 2021-2022 roadmap based on the requirements received by the community. All these required a systematic change management process to be applied so that we can bring all the stakeholders together in an agreement and consensus for the changes that are required in all the specifications above. We also developed a monitoring tool to check the status of the onboarded providers and resources and give us useful feedback for policy making that includes also a statistic report. We also contributed to a number of portal glossary and definitions, and all that has been now put in public so that we can have all access to that, as well as we are currently working on the finalization of the transition to EOS Future. Going very fast into the specific details for the EOS portal profiles, this is a long journey from a number of activities 5 or 6 years ago that started in trying to develop a common language for the exchange of the metadata of initially services, later on, of course, data and other scientific products. Last year, we delivered version 3.0 of the specification that included the EOS provider profile, version 3.0, and the EOS resource profile, the two most significant entities for the exchange of the metadata. Last year, nonetheless, we received a number of requirements that have led to the release of version 4.0. Among those requirements are updates on the existing EOS provider and resource profiles that led to a few addition of some attributes, some changes on the attribute requirement, whether this is mandatory or optional, some reorganization of the attributes so that they make sense in information blocks, some additional additions into the code list, taxonomies, and classification, and some changes of the types of the attributes. We have tried to make the most of all of this as possible backwards compatible. For those that are not, there is a decision that all those will be implemented on the 1st of July 2022. The others have to be implemented on the 1st of January 2022. This also led to an additional profile that is the multi-provider catalog profile. This is a new entity that is used to model the thematic regional networks, clusters, catalogs that have in their registries a number of providers onboarded, as well as their numerous resources. A significant progress that we will see the result of it in 2022 with the facilitation of the onboarding of those catalogs. And also very important for the overall concept of the EOSC, we have already the extensions introduced to the EOSC resource profile for data sources and research products. You can see the specifications here. So just a few details here. For example, in the provider profile, we have now a new information block for the dependencies information. For the resource profile, you see a new attribute, the abbreviation that was needed because most of the providers use a very long name that was used actually as a key currently in the portal, and we needed something shorter than that. And also the change of the terms of use and privacy policy to mandatory, required also by the overall policy that we know very well. The multi-provider catalog profile is very similar to the single provider profile, but of course is generally speaking a simplified one, since in most of the cases those catalogs are not actual providers, but mostly aggregators, concentration points of other providers and resources. And as I said, this will be used now for the onboarding of those catalogs. We have already finalized the first trial of that with NIFOS, a regional project, and we are now proceeding with a thematic one, countries, in the next couple of weeks, with a very large number of additional providers, around 100 and more than 500 resources. And last but not least, the expected additions and extensions on data sources and research product that is also included in the specifications. Last but not least, we have started working on the portal profiles representation models, and there is already a first version of a UML model for the provider and the resource, a work that of course will continue in EOSC Future and will give and deliver significant results that will facilitate software development and interoperability in the EOSC ecosystem. Second significant result, the portal onboarding process. This also has received a number of requirements and changes of the process along the lines that Carmela mentioned before. We have also devised the additional onboarding process for the catalog owners, as I mentioned before. And now the onboarding process also had incorporated in the overall process the ordering capability as well as the quality assurance and feedback process. These are the requirements that mainly led to those changes. And now the onboarding process for the single provider includes 5 phases, from the onboarding of the authorized representative of the provider to the later on to the provider, the resource, and all the other steps that are needed until the provider and the resources are approved and made public at the portal. Obviously, it is expected that in the years to come, additional steps will be added to facilitate other features and functionality. And obviously that some of the existing phases will be decomposed in smaller steps so that the initial onboarding process will be easier than it is at the current stage. You can see that the process includes 16 different stages, all of them needed in order to have a trusted environment for the EOSC and followed for all the providers and resources that are currently being onboarded by the EOSC Portal onboarding team. Similarly to that, we have the new onboarding process for the multi-provider regional and thematic portals that also include the five phases, but has some additional steps that are required in order to facilitate the massive onboarding of providers and resources using the specific functions that have been developed in the portal, and George Papastefanatos will come to that later with more details. Related to the onboarding, as I mentioned before, we have now included also this final step when the provider and the resources are onboarded. We have included a semi-automatic report generation function that creates a report, as you can see here, with some recommendations for the provider to improve qualitatively and quantitatively his profiles. There is also some coloring on the various features that he can put some emphasis on the red and orange ones that are the major lacking points. Extremely significant also for the EOSC, as I mentioned in the introduction, is the gathering of all the requirements in a registry that can lead us to a road mapping also based on the requirements received by the ecosystem. We have now a full list of EOSC Portal adopted requirements, but also we are providing to EOSC Future a full list of the requirements that have been received. Some of those approved, some of those are in the backlog so that they can be handled effectively by the following project. In total, with this systematic process, we have handled 201 requirements, of which 50 were implemented in the first period, 79 in the second, and 72 are handed over to EOSC Future for further process. Now, another important aspect that has been devised is the EOSC Portal change management process. You know that we have an ecosystem with a large number of stakeholders. Even in projects, there is a very large number of actors that need to take decisions on requirements and changes or additional features, and that led to devising this process for the most significant specification, at least up to now, including the EOSC Portal profiles, the onboarding process, the APIs, all those functions that play a significant role in the current status of affairs of the EOSC Portal. This process includes all the steps for collection, filtering, review, rejection or approval, the selection for implementation and the actual implementation of that, and giving feedback to the original stakeholder that set this requirement. The management process has been devised for all the processes of the EOSC, but have also been specialized for specific aspects of it, including the changes on the profiles that is significant because it plays a role in the interoperability and many, many other aspects. Also, a portal monitoring tool and statistic report have been created. This is an automatic process that gathers all the statistics, calculates and submits this report either on a weekly or monthly basis to any stakeholder that is interested to monitor the current progress of onboarding on the EOSC portal. For all of those of you that would like to have access, direct access to the documentation, obviously all of this is documented in the EOSC Enhance deliverables, but also the most important specifications are currently are available in the EOSC Portal documentation page. They have been transferred into the public area of EOSC Future. This is accessible to anyone. You can currently find the EOSC Portal profiles, all versions and aspects there, so everyone do. And also, last but not least, they are being steadily made public in Zenodo. Thank you very much. I give the floor now to George Papastefanatos from the University of Athens to go deeper into the providers component.
Thank you, Jorge. Let me share my screen and okay. I hope that you can see now my screen. Hello. Thank you all for being here. My name is George Papastefanatos. I work for University of Athens for EOSC Enhance, and this project comes to an end. I'll try to give you an update about the key changes of the providers functionality towards the providers. Mainly the key updates regarding the first release we had last year. So in essence, the providers portal is the providers component is the part of the portal that offers functionality to providers to perform, let's say, 4 main tasks. First, you can onboard your organization in EOSC, in the EOSC catalog. You can manage all of your resources, your services in the EOSC catalog through a provider's dashboard. You can manage your orders, your order configurations, and the orders coming from users in the portal. And finally, you can use APIs to programmatically interact with the catalog and manage your resources, add, update, or publish or unpublish your resources. So regarding the first functionality, what we have already implemented that it is available is that the onboarding process now offers the functionality to onboard your organization independently of the resources, of your resources. This goes for cases that providers may provide resources along with other providers, with other organizations. So this, let's say, process is decoupled, the provider registration from the resource registration. This was previously one process. Now it is offered as, let's say, a decoupled process with 2 different steps. Next, there are several updates in the UI of the web forms that are offered for filling in the profiles, both for the provider information and the resource information. Many, let's say, improvements have been made to allow user to fill in the information more easily, to show the progress, to save, let's say, your work as a draft and continue at a later point, to have online validations and have feedback messages from this validation, and have also a preview of what you have already filled in before you publish it in the marketplace. There is also the functionality to amend the profiles, especially the parts of the control vocabularies that are available in the drop-down list. You can propose, you can suggest a value, and this value is, let's say, validated or reviewed by the onboarding team, the EOSC Portal onboarding team, and eventually this will amend the profiles, the list of values that are part of the profiles. There is also a functionality, the auditing functionality, which is offered to the onboarding team, but actually improves your offerings and your resources in the catalog. The onboarding team can actually select and ask from you, from providers, to improve specific parts of what you have already filled in, or you can take a look if the information is still valid. Let's say, and the date of last auditing is recorded. You can also communicate with the onboarding team with comments that are visible in the timeline of your resources. This functionality is mainly offered through the provider dashboard. The provider dashboard is the place where you can, let's say, have an overview of all your offerings in the EOSC catalog. You can see the status of the onboarding. You can manage the resource portfolio. You can filter and update all information related to your offerings, and you can also view usage engagement for your resources. There are some changes in the dashboard. Mainly, we have added a couple of actions that you can perform in your dashboard. First of all, you can view all the resources organized by different categories. Your resources can be published in the marketplace, but you can also have draft resources that are not publicly available, but you want to further work on and publish them at a later stage. You can see resources that are shared across many organizations, and you can perform actions such as add new resource, update the provider, delete your information, and use the APIs. Also, you have access to usage statistics, rich usage statistics, such as visits in the pages of your resources, orders that refer to your resources, additions of your resources into projects, and other types of statistics that are gathered by the marketplace and are visible in the dashboard. You can also see your resource portfolio organized per different types of information. For instance, organize your resources per target users, per category, and other information which is grouped in tabs now for better organization and overview. Also, you have actions that you can perform in your resources, mainly actions like to copy, to clone, or move a resource from your organization to another one, or to copy the information and let's say copy information to another resource. And also you have information about the creation date, about the last update, the last audit date, and tools for searching in your portfolio. All these actions are recorded and now are available in your timeline. All actions not only performed by you, but also by the onboarding team, and all these actions are also visible with the comments that you have provided before you make each action. Also, there is a statistics of all the resources in the catalog, and you can browse not only your resources, but the catalog resources in several visualization charts. And also very important, let's say, addition in the second year of a project has to do with the ordering. Now the provider have the ability to configure all the ordering parameters of your resources. You can manage a resource, you can set and parameter offers, and you can also navigate from the marketplace back to the provider dashboard. For the ordering, you have, let's say, the ability to identify and describe in details the ordering items, the configuration of each resources, and how this can be ordered by users. You can publish various offers of a single resource and configure via the forms or via the API all these technical parameters. Behind this, there is a service order management back office, SOMBO, which accepts all orders performed by users at the front office. SOMBO is a service ready to be used by all EOSC resource providers. There is no, let's say, adoption cost, and all actions performed by user notify providers via an email, which you can, let's say, trace back via a token for recording all orders coming to your resources. There are various integration methods for using either SOMBO or your own order management system with our order management system. You can be an individual provider, but it also addresses provider communities. And there is a documentation in that link. Also, there are several tools that are offered to you, either as a Jira adapter or as a client library to use the APIs. And my last, let's say, section of presentation has to do with the APIs. Now the APIs offer several programmatic ways to manage the catalog of resources and the order management. So you have controllers, let's say, group of methods to manage your resources, manage your organization, to manage the vocabularies, and soon there will be a controller for provider who act as catalog, as multi-provider catalogs to manage, let's say, a group of providers. Also, there are methods to manage your offers, to manage your events, to manage projects created by users in the marketplace and items that are added in this project, messages and order management systems. We follow the EOSC Portal AAI authentication mechanism. There is access and a refresh token mechanism. An access token is valid for 1 hour, but you can use a refresh token to, let's say, issue again every 1 hour an access token, and this is for security reasons. Tokens are used mainly for updating information, and some methods that actually take information out of the catalog do not require an authentication mechanism. For the APIs, we have the endpoints, the main 2 endpoints, and the documentation is available in these endpoints. And there are 3 different environments. The production one, where you can do all changes, and these are reflected in the live catalog, but also you can start playing in the sandbox, which is a stable replica of the production, and you can actually use it as a playground, especially for the APIs. Finally, we have beta. Beta actually is an environment where we put there early releases, features that are not very stable, and we ask from beta user to test it. And of course, you are more than welcome to test beta features. Using the EOSC Portal APIs, everything is over secure connection. There is the base URL, and there is a lot of documentation that you can use, and it's very easy by using the base URL and followed by the method. So this is very briefly an overview of the new features we bring as a project in the 2nd year. And now I will give the floor to Federico to continue with our achievement in Work Package 5.
Thank you, George. So I'll share my screen now. Let's go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello again. I'm Federico Drago. I'm from Trust IT Services, and I'm the communications manager of the EOSC Enhance project. I'll just take you through some of the most interesting updates that have taken place on the content component of the website, which is basically the homepage where people usually land when looking for the EOSC portal. So some improvements have been implemented over year 2 of the project. One of which was, of course, the addition of a tagline clarifying the role of the EOSC portal in the ecosystem. And then, as mentioned at the beginning by Carmela, so we have worked in particularly with Work Package 4 on the marketplace on a framework that will enable the automated coordination between the header and footer of all the components, of all the 3 components of the website. For an example, at the moment, if a user logs in from the main page on the eospportal.eu, then they will remain logged in when moving on the marketplace, which is something that didn't happen in the past, but now basically this helps for a better user experience when users don't want to log in multiple times on the same environment. Another thing, of course, we worked on the homepage, so we have reshuffled some of the content. We've made it more aligned with the other parts of the EOSC portal, so specifically with the marketplace and the provider's dashboard. And then we have added the page in which we have listed the 7 key exploitable results the EOSC Enhance project has contributed to the long-term evolution of the EOSC portal. So you can find them here. There is a dedicated page which describes them, and you will find all the relevant links to lots of the things that have been discussed just now by Jorge and George, and of course the marketplace and the catalog, which will be described by my colleague Bartosz in the next presentation. So this is the legacy that EOSC Enhance is leaving to EOSC Future, but also to all the other projects, as Jorge mentioned, in the EOSC ecosystem. So these are all the things that we're leaving to the community. Then another thing, we have added a clickable map in the policy section, so that people can just browse and click on the map and reach the relevant country. We have improved the navigation of the newsletter section, in which we have now collected all of the previous newsletters where people can find them more easily, and they can of course sign up for the newsletter. We have added the possibility for providers to provide articles to promote their services. So we basically have improved the possibilities for user-generated content on the portal, so that providers can now actually log in with their EOSC login. They can submit an article, the EOSC Portal team will evaluate it, and then will publish on the website, which makes it more visible to the community. And it is a really good opportunity for providers currently on the portal that already have services onboarded. We have also improved the visualization of the use cases pages. Of course, this is another part of the user-generated content. People can log in with the EOSC credentials and submit their stories from the EOSC community and from different domains. So basically what we've tried to do over year two is encouraging people from the community to actually produce content, to submit news, events, promotional articles, and basically make it more easier, make it easier for them to become an active part of the development of the portal. So I would like to thank everyone, and I'll just pass the floor to Bartosz for the last part on the marketplace. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Federico. I'm Bartosz Wilk. I'm from Academic Computer Center of University of Science and Technology in Kraków, and I will present you and make you familiarized with the user component key updates that are visible at the end of the EOSC Future, the EOSC Enhance project. So EOSC Portal user component, also referred to as a marketplace, is a component serving most functionalities for the end users. So supporting resource discovery, filtering, accessing resources, giving a possibility to navigate and make use of user space in the marketplace, as well as many other features connected to end user stories. So there have been some significant changes during this year. Basically, I will present them in a minute. So first of all, marketplace recommender system, quite significant job. We've been able to set up a recommender system based on the current state of the art of the recommender systems implementation methods. The current recommender system is suggesting resources based on user interests, so the information that users shared in the user profile, the interests of similar users, and interactions with the EOSC marketplace. Results of the searches are taken into account when recommendations are computed. So all the filters and queries that are used in the user interface are also affecting the recommendations. So this is a factor that makes this implementation different from other recommender system like you sometimes meet in Google or Netflix services. We implemented two independent algorithms backed up with user probing mechanisms. to provide you with recommendations of the highest quality. The first approach introduced to gather data and verify main design assumptions was neural collaborative filtering pre-agent. State-of-the-art algorithm for recommender system, which builds on the classic method in the field. It performs several analyses in couple layers and produces offline embeddings that can be understood as some hunch of the neural network to then respond with a result for a given query. As you can see in the picture on the right, user latent vector and item user vector are representations or either users identity or interests or item information about recommendation items or resources. The other method is based on the novel take on the recommendation formula, and it's an implementation of reinforcement learning algorithm, which makes an online computation of recommendations, improving the performance with each step. The recommender system has been presented in two variants, making use of the A/B testing experiment framework, which we also developed, which allows us to find out which user experience suits, which user visualization method suits users best. The method is based on serving two different layouts to samples of users and monitoring conversion rate from these experiments, and we are able to determine which visualization works better. This is as simple as that. The next addition to the environment was developing a framework, which Federico also mentioned, but I'd like to mention that this is a framework for consistent style and information for common UI components that can be extended in the future. The framework is open for collaboration, and we made sure that the technical barriers are as little as possible. It also features dynamic deployment and preview, so each contributor can change content and find out how the changes affect the produced visualization. It's very easy to adopt by other systems because it's based on the plug and play assumption. It was integrated, as Federico said, with EOSC Marketplace and EOSC Portal webpage. You can find the framework at the link, and you can see how it behaves by creating pull requests to this in GitHub repository. Another thing that was also mentioned by Federico is the auto login functionality. So based on the single sign-on mechanism, single sign-on mechanism of EOSC Portal, and without interfering with it, we optimized the performance of this mechanism and introduced the implementation in the aforementioned JavaScript library. So all the components that are using the implementation provided are also able to make use of the auto login. So make users easier, navigating easier between the EOSC Portal pages. Introduce also favorite resources pages. So in your EOSC Marketplace space, you can find your favorite resources. This feature is available both for anonymous and authenticated users. It also invites the unauthenticated users to register and log in, because favorites kept in the user session can be saved once the user is logged in. We performed some user experience improvements in the user projects in the user space of the marketplace. So what you see right now is a user project, so a place where you can either see ordered resources or other pinned resources, and to make the wording clear and terminology fitting the purpose of this, we changed some of the terminology. We divided panel into the section. We provided notifications about new messages, and we implemented the conversation panel. We introduced also pages for providers. They can be also found by searching through EOSC Marketplace or via selection through an autocomplete mechanism. As you can see in this picture, opener is pre-selected, and once clicked, the autocomplete mechanism navigates straight to the resource provider. There are also featured recently added resources. As you can see from this page, the user can navigate straight to the list of the provider's resources. There are also some smaller updates, as new not found page, new responsive design for smartphones and other devices that our users use to navigate the marketplace. The web page is prepared for such use cases. We also introduced zoomable maps, updated resource details, and comparison attributes, so it reflects properly the current resource profile, to make sure that all the resources can be compared using this functionality. We also prepared a panel to review the responses from the tour feedbacks. As EOSC Portal users, you probably noticed a functionality that guides you through the newly introduced feature and asks you to rate this feature at the end, in order to be able to analyze these responses. We introduced some functions in the portal. They can be used by the team who wants to respond to these reviews. We are responding to the user voice like this one in the tour response. We've been also, during the EOSC Enhance project, running together with Workpocket 5 several workshops and surveys in order to find out about the user interests. We also prepared user personas, so artificial cards for the user needs that lets us familiarize and build empathy to our end users while we are designing this portal. All these results have been also handed over to the EOSC Future, so we can be sure that this work will be continued and the next results will be only better. Thank you very much. This is our last webinar, and I hope that EOSC Enhance brought something usable for you.
Thank you very much. And I see there have been a lot of questions in the question and answer section of this webinar. I don't know if there is anything else. I think we responded to all questions in writing. I don't know if there are further questions from the audience. We have some minutes left. Well, since there are no further questions. So.
And maybe there was just that comment about the profiles 4.0. Yeah, that Jorge just replied in the chat, but basically they were made public today, so they would be featured in the provider's documentation section of the website as soon as possible as well. So they will be included in the website. I don't know if Jorge wants to comment on the profiles more or.
No, as I also, Federico mentioned also in the chat, we have also performed the full transfer of all the knowledge base related to the profiles, including previous versions and all the requests for changes, and are currently being made available in the private part of EOSC Future. And the public space includes also all the public specifications on that. We will follow on also with all the other specifications that we presented today in all those 3 sites, that is EOSC Future public space, EOSC Portal, documentation page, and of course some of those will become also public in Zenodo.
Yeah, and maybe another final comment from me. There were some questions that were really targeting on the future and expansion, so particularly towards specific research communities or also the interactions with GaiaX. As I said, I mean, EOSC Enhance started in December 2019 with a clear plan of 2 years. Of course, the scenarios changed a lot since then. We had our work plan to implement, and we focused on restructuring and delivering completely re-engineered EOSC Portal, which is now easy to use for both providers and users. Now, future, let's say, expansion to other communities, enrichment of the portal, as well as collaboration with other initiatives is in the end of follow-up project, which is EOSC Future. So I invite you also to follow that one, as well as other initiatives in the EOSC area that are coordinated by the EOSC Association. So thank you very much. There is nothing less. Thanks for having followed us, and I hope that this webinar was interesting for you. And have a nice rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.